welcome to our 7th concert of the season. Our first piece will be Variation Overture by Clifton Williams. James Clifton Williams Jr. grew up in Arkansas in the 1930s, where he eventually played French horn, piano, and mellophone at Little Rock High School. His performance career included playing in the horn section of the San Antonio and New Orleans Symphony Orchestras and serving the Army Air Corps Band as drum major. His teaching career included composition at the University of Texas School of Music, where he taught until 1966, and later the position of Chair of Theory and Composition Department at the University of Miami. He was an active member of many musical organizations, including Phi Mu Alpha Sinfonia, Fraternity of America, who commissioned his work entitled The Symphonians. The piece you will hear this evening, Variation Overture, was dedicated to the American School Band Directors Association in 1961. Variation Overture is a serious effort on part of the writer to utilize mature techniques of composition within a simple framework. The theme, with its contrasting idea, is treated in 4 varied ways, resulting in a piece cast in the form of a concert overture and made cohesive by the use of the variation principle. The variation is a formal technique where material is repeated in an altered form. The changes may involve melody, rhythm, harmony, counterpoint, timbre, orchestration, or any combination of these. See if you can recognize these altered restatements of the theme in this piece, Variation Overture. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to our mayor, Paul Hassler. Welcome to our concert. We happen to notice you were here. Written by Canadian singer-songwriter Leonard Cohen back in the 80s, Hallelujah is a powerful song that has reached almost legendary status with its frequent usage in TV and movies. Recorded by such diverse artists as Bob Dylan, Bon Jovi, and Justin Timberlake, it was also used in the first Shrek movie and during the 2010 Winter Olympics opening ceremony in Vancouver. More than 100 versions of the song have been recorded. The original version is in the key of C major and 12/8 time, which evokes both waltz and gospel music, and the chord progression, which many of us are familiar with, C, F, G, A minor, F, matches the lyrics. It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, and the major lift. It also contains several biblical references, most notably the stories of Samson and Delilah from the book of Judges, in She Broke Your Throne and She Cut Your Hair, as well as King David and Bathsheba, You Saw Her Bathing on the Roof, Her Beauty in the Moonlight Overthrew You. Cohen, a notorious perfectionist, wrote about 80 draft verses for the song, which reduced him to sitting on the floor in his underwear, banging his head on the floor at the Royalton Hotel in New York. So the full version only has 15 verses. Cohen has said of the song's meaning, it explains that many kinds of hallelujahs do exist, and all the perfect and broken hallelujahs have equal value. Tonight you will hear a terrific setting arranged for band by Michael Brown. Please enjoy Hallelujah. Our next selection is Just Another Polka by Frank Loesser and Milton Deluge. Frank Loesser had been considered one of the most versatile Broadway composers. 5 musical theater contributions include Where's Charlie, Guys and Dolls, The Most Happy Fella, Green Willow, and How to Succeed in a Business Without Really Trying. He also supplied lyrics to the music of such greats as Jewel Stein, Hoagie Carmichael, Burton Lane, and Arthur Schwartz, to name a few. He penned standards such as On a Slow Boat to China, Two Sleepy People, Heart and Soul, I Don't Want to Walk Without You, Spring Will Be a Little Late This Year, See What the Boys in the Back Room Will Have, They're Either Too Young or Too Old, and his 1948 Academy winner, Baby It's Cold Outside. Born in New York in 1910, Loesser never studied music, although his father was a distinguished German-born classical piano teacher, and his brother Arthur was a renowned concert pianist, musicologist, and music critic. He did not have an interest in classical music, but was interested in pop, which his father disdained. He turned to the harmonica and piano in his teens. He dropped out of school during the Great Depression and took a variety of jobs. He started composing lyrics in 1931 and made a career of music composition and theater. This piece was composed in 1953 and in the later portion of his career. Please enjoy Just Another Polka. In this next tune, titled Instant Concert, composer Harold Walters uses 30 common melodies found on band concert programs from around the world and cleverly condenses them into an instant performance of 3 minutes and 10 seconds in one single tempo. Walters began his musical career at the age of 8 with cornet lessons and later learned tuba and string bass. From 1938 to 1943, he performed and served as chief arranger with the U.S. Navy Band in Washington, D.C. After his military discharge, Walters was with CBS Radio in Washington for a year, then moved to New York City, where he served as conductor-arranger for Warner Brothers Theater, Fox Newsreel Features, Randolph Hearst News, and various orchestras. Walters wrote more than 900 compositions and arrangements for band, and more than 600 for strings, woodwind, brass, and percussion solos and ensembles. See if you can pick out the melodies you recognize in his piece, Instant Concert. Pennsylvania 65000 is the phone number of the Pennsylvania Hotel in New York City. Before area codes, the first two numbers were called the exchange code and were represented by a word whose first two letters were used as the numbers. Thus, Pennsylvania represents the PE exchange code. The number today, complete with the area code, is 212-736-5000. Bill Finnegan and Jerry Gray wrote the music for this song, with Carl Sigmund adding the lyrics. In the Carl Sigmund songbook, Sigmund's son Michael writes, "In 1940, Carl came up with Pennsylvania 65000, cashing in on the popularity of Café Rouge, a hot nightclub situated in New York City's Hotel Pennsylvania, frequented by swing-era icons like Goodman, the Dorsey Brothers, Artie Shaw, and Glenn Miller." The Glenn Miller recording became a smash hit, reaching the top 5 on the pop charts. 65 years later, Pennsylvania 65000 was still a worldwide standard covered by artists from Brian Setzer to Heptet and used in movies from The Glenn Miller Story to Oliver Stone's football flick, Any Given Sunday. If you call Pennsylvania 65000 today, you'll still get the main switchboard of that legendary hotel across the street from Pennsylvania Station. Please enjoy Pennsylvania 65000. Municipal.com for filming tonight's performance. Let's give them a round of applause. So now we're going to change tempos to a more lullaby-like tune with Edelweiss from The Sound of Music. The song is named after the Edelweiss, a white flower found high in the Alps. In The Sound of Music, it is sung by Captain Georg Ludwig von Trapp and his family during the concert near the end of Act 2 as a defiant statement of Austrian patriotism in the face of the pressure put upon him to join the navy of Nazi Germany. This song turned out to be one of the most beloved songs in the musical and also one of the best loved songs of Roger and Hammerstein. This song was the last song that Rodgers and Hammerstein wrote together because Hammerstein was suffering from stomach cancer, which took his life 9 months after The Sound of Music opened on Broadway. It is commonly thought that Edelweiss is a traditional Austrian tune, but it is not, which speaks to the composer's ability to write authentic-sounding folk tunes. I hope you enjoy this beautiful tune, Edelweiss, and feel free to sing along. Next, we have an English folk song style suite called Three Airs from Gloucester by Hugh M. Stewart. This suite contains 3 movements: The Jolly Earl of Cholmondeley, Air for Evening Tide, and The Fiefs of Wembley. This piece came into being as a result of the composer's fascination with an old 10th century couplet, "There's no one quite so comely as the Jolly Earl of Cholmondeley." Comely is an Old English word which means pleasing and wholesome in appearance or attractive, which is what I hope you find in this piece. The first movement, The Jolly Earl of Cholmondeley, is representative of the nobility that once surrounded Cholmondeley Castle, which is depicted with a fanfare-esque sound that lends itself to visions of nobility and busy life within a castle's walls. The second movement, Air for Evening Tide, is contrastingly gentle and calm, but full of emotion. The word air typically refers to a piece of English instrumental music, but it can also refer to vocal music. The third movement, The Fiefs of Wembley, may be representative of a few different things. A fief is actually an Old English term for a fee. Technically, in feudal law, it refers to an estate in land granted by a lord to his vassal on condition of homage and service. However, the spelling is very closely related to that of the word fife, which is a colloquial term for a wooden flute, and the composer gave the flutes the majority of the melody in this movement. Wembley is a part of London and is today most famous for the Wembley Stadium, the home of the English national soccer team. The resulting 3 compositions are designed to capture the mood of the peasants and their life on the fiefs of Wembley Castle. Whether it be soccer stadiums, fiefs, or fiefs that fit your fancy, I hope you enjoy this piece, 3 Airs from Gloucester. next, we'll hear A Gallop to End All Gallops by Warren Barker. Although technically rather easy, the spirited gallop is a gem of a piece. In Barker's distinctive style, it has the interesting, inventive twists in it to make it a really fun piece, yet it is done within a standard format. It's perfect for the spot that calls for a march, but where you don't want to do a standard march. The gallop was the forerunner of the polka style, which we are all familiar with. I hope you enjoy this upbeat and spirited piece, A Gallop to End All Gallops. Joseph Campello. A medley of the 4 famous opera songs, this piece includes selections from the Toreador song from Carmen, Vesti la Juba from Pagliacci, the Anvil chorus from Il Trovatore, and the William Tell Overture finale from William Tell. I'll give you some background for each of these pieces. The Toreador song from Carmen is sung by a matador and describes various situations in the bullfight ring and the cheering of the crowds and the fame that comes from victory. Vesti la Juba is sung at the end of the first act of Pagliacci, when Canio discovers his wife's infidelity, but must nevertheless prepare for his performance as Pagliaccio the clown, because the show must go on. The Anvil chorus from Il Trovatore depicts Spanish gypsies striking their anvils at dawn and singing the praises of hard work, good wine, and their gypsy women. Finally, the William Tell Overture is an ultra-dynamic cavalry charge gallop heralded by trumpets. This segment is often used in popular media to denote galloping horses or heroes riding to the rescue, and it became the Lone Ranger theme music. I hope you enjoy this piece, Band at the Opera.
I wanted to take this opportunity to give you guys a little heads up about some audience participation we have planned for next week, so you'll know what's going on. Next week we're playing a medley of music by Russian composer Tchaikovsky. Now, one of Tchaikovsky's greatest hits, as it were, is the 1812 Overture, which, if you're familiar with the 1812 Overture, calls for cannons to be used in the production. And I've actually seen it done where they're shooting off the big giant cannons. Obviously, we don't have cannons, so that's where you guys are going to come in. So, a member of our clarinet section here, Dave Kirkuff, has donated several McDonald's paper bags. And so what we're going to do when we get to this piece next week is the bags will be distributed amongst you, and you'll have pre-inflated the bag, and then be ready. And then when I'm up on the thing and we're playing a thing, and I'm going to cue you, and I might cue different sections, like it might be these guys over here first, and then these folks over here, and you're going to be the cannon. So you're going to, boom, explode your paper bag at the proper moment, and simulate cannons for us. So I believe we'll have enough paper bags for everybody, but in the off event that we don't, if you wanted to bring your own explosive sounding thing, I'm not advocating fireworks, of course, because as we all know, those are illegal in the city of St. Genevieve. You can't have that. However, exploding paper bags, I don't think there's an ordinance against that. So, bring something if you want to create a loud bang at that point, and that'll just be kind of a fun thing. So I wanted to give you guys a heads up for that. We will have paper bags, but if you wanted to contribute, that'd be great. So something to look forward to. Thanks.
Now you guys are really want to. Now you really want to get paid. Now.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay, we're going to hold you to that. You better participate. So we're going to break from the norm tonight by closing with a piece from the father of trombone, Henry Fillmore. I think Sousa will forgive us. A prolific composer, Fillmore wrote over 250 tunes and arranged orchestrations for hundreds more. He also published a great number of tunes under various pseudonyms such as Harold Bennett, Ray Hall, Harry Hartley, Al Hayes, and the funniest, Henrietta Moore. The name that caused a conflict was Will Huff, because there was a Will Huff who composed marches and lived in his state and area. This piece from Fillmore is called The Footlifter, and of course we'll be watching to see if your toes actually do tap on this one. So enjoy The Footlifter.
Thank you.
As we conclude our 7th concert of the 2017 season, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out tonight to support and enjoy the St. Genevieve Municipal Band. Let's give them all a round of applause. I would also like to thank Jim Donzie and the setup crew for all of their hard work. Let's also give them a round of applause. I encourage all of you to like our Facebook page, and please make sure to come out next Thursday night at 8 p.m. for our next concert. Thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.